Hi guys, I'm going to recap a 2020 romance drama thriller movie, called The Honeymoon Phase. This movie tells the story of a couple who is involved in a strange science experiment. Along the way, they find strange unusual things about the experiment. Will their love be strong enough to survive this dangerous trial? Let's find it out. Tom and Eve are a couple needing money to start a life together. Pretending to be married, they enroll in the Millennium Project for a honeymoon experiment. In this experiment, couples will be analyzed in an isolated research facility. They will spend their time together in a spacious house, fully provided with necessities and facilities for 30 days. And they will get a promised payout of $50,000 upon participating. They visit the director of the Millennium Project. This study will be conducted during the honeymoon phase. This is done to analyze how a couple interacts and why feelings change over time. The director is researching the honeymoon phase. Like how long a honeymoon phase lasts and what couples do to make it last longer. After the conversation with the director, Tom and Eve are guided into two different rooms. They go through interviews about their relationship and memories of one another. Afterward, they gather in a room full of other couples. While waiting, the couple starts talking about the probability of the experiment being a fraud. They decide to come up with a safe word in case anything bad happens. Since the experiment will be fully supervised, they can't say anything explicitly. The safe word is 9/23, which is the day they fell in love. They will use the safe word whenever they feel unsafe and want to stop the experiment. The director and two staff walk in and start briefing couples to follow the staff. Wives and husbands are separated and guided into different rooms. Each of them is put to sleep by injections. A while later, Tom and Eve wake up on a bed in a spacious house. They get up and see a woman standing in the living room. She is a hander, an assistant through this experiment. She communicates with them through the mediator. It is a technology that allows her to appear as a hologram to not disturb the study. The hander asks the couple to put on headbands that will detect their brain waves. They are given orientation and an explanation about how the brain waves will affect the study. Finished, they start exploring the house. In the kitchen, they find an air tube that will come up with anything they ask. If they ask for cakes, the ingredients will come to them through the air tube. They also discover an office for Tom to write his book, a dream space they always want. Tom and Eve begin to enjoy the plush environment even though they do not have privacy. One night, when they are watching a movie about childbirth, Tom states that he wants a baby. Eve thinks that they are not ready, with all the financial problems they are having. They compromise to put off the talk until they are mentally and financially ready. The first week of the experiment passes like a normal honeymoon. But something changes that night when Tom and Eve are having fun with each other like usual. Adding the fun atmosphere, Eve takes out the cookies she brought in her luggage. It turns out that the cookies contain some drug components. They eat it together and decide to play hide and seek. It is Tom's turn to hide, and while searching for him, she hears a loud bang on the door. She approaches the source of the sound. Then, what she sees there startles her. It is the wife of one of the couples they saw in the gathering room. The wife is banging on the door, begging Eve to save her. Eve tries to open the door but it is locked. She screams for Tom to help her, but there is no response. Meanwhile, the husband of the couple comes to his wife. Unexpectedly, he smashes his wife's head to the door severely. After sparing a glance at Eve, he proceeds to carry his wife's dead body and walks away. A second later, Tom appears. Eve starts to explain what just happened to him. Tom doubts the validity of the story and calls for the director through the mediator. The director checks the security camera, and it shows that there was no one besides Eve when the incident happened. They convince Eve that she was just having delusions because of the drugs they took on earlier. For the next few days, Eve continues to be in a state of paranoia. She senses that something's not quite right with this experiment. Adding to her problems, Tom brings up the talk about starting a family. It stirs up Eve's anxiety and she finally explodes. They start attacking each other verbally. Eve tells him to finish his never-ending book before starting the talk about having a baby. Tom has been struggling with his book and hasn't been able to write ever since they partake in this experiment. He walks back to his office and starts to doubt his career path. Noticing that she's been too hard on Tom, she apologizes and encourages him. That night when Eve is walking through the corridor, she hears whispers that warn her not to trust Tom. Eve turns around, but finds no one. Because of that, she starts to notice that Tom is behaving unusually. He has been eager to start a family lately and oftentimes showing his abusive side. The next day, she finds out that the hander is the one who had warned her. She turns the mediator on and talks to her anxiously. The hander states that she believes Eve is not going to survive the first week based on the file. But when Eve asks for the details, the mediator dies down. Unable to hold the anxiety in anymore, Eve gets into an argument with Tom. Again debating about the incident about the husband that kills her wife. She blames Tom for not being there with her. Judging Tom doesn't believe her story, she questions his seriousness about their relationship. She also reveals what the hander told her. Tom gets mad and questions her back. If Eve distrusts him, it means their relationship is not strong enough. He starts drilling her with a ton of brainwashing talks to affirm the hander is just driving them apart. Eve is convinced by his speech and starts behaving like her usual normal self. She even cuts off communication with the hander. She doesn't want to listen to the warning anymore, being certain that Tom is the one she should trust. Christmas is coming, and one night, when they are kissing, Eve suddenly pushes Tom away. She feels something weird and different from his kiss. Alas, Tom claims it is the same as usual, and the one who's being all paranoid is Eve. He gets agitated and forces kisses on Eve, making Eve bite him. Consequently, he shoves Eve hard to the ground. Later that night, Eve hears Tom communicating with the handler. They are talking about how Eve gets more mentally unstable day by day. She also overhears that they have been giving her light sedatives. Eve comes to them and flips out. She can't believe the fact that they have been drugging her. Adding to all of the problems happening, Eve realizes she's pregnant. Confused, she passes along the information to Tom. She wants to stop this experiment right away. Tom compels her to stay since the experiment is nearing the end. He begins to act roughly, responding to Eve's reluctance of giving birth to their child. Scared by him, Eve chooses to obey Tom. The next day, Tom gives her a hairstyler as a Christmas gift. However, the whole situation is stressful for Eve and she is losing interest in everything. Despite receiving gifts, she is not happy at all. She feels overwhelmed by the change in Tom's behavior. She keeps doubting Tom and the experiment. With no one else in the house, she decides to seek help from the handler. Thus, handler tells her that Tom has been playing her all this time. Unable to believe it, Eve goes into Tom's office to search for any clues. Opening his notes, she discovers pages of baby names lists. She is very upset at the fact that Tom has been planning to get her pregnant without her approval. Feeling disappointed to the core, Eve plans to confront Tom. She invites Tom to play the game of Never Have I Ever. She says, "Never have I ever planned to get a woman pregnant without their approval." Tom can discern that Eve has known about his intention all along, and drinks the wine. Out of the blue, Eve says 923. Seeing how Tom doesn't understand what she means, she repeats saying 923. But Tom still doesn't get what she means. Eve is finally connecting all the puzzles. From Tom's odd behavior and how he forgets the safe word they made, Eve comes to a terrifying conclusion. The Tom in front of her is not the real Tom. She has been spending her honeymoon with a fake husband. Before going back to the room, she takes a knife with her. While keeping the knife under her robes, Tom comes in. When he starts to caress her with touches, Eve takes out the knife and slashes his arm, catching him off guard. Eve runs away and locks herself in the bathroom. Following, Tom bangs on the door and screams for her to open the door. Taking the extreme decision, Eve takes the hairstyler and tries to kill her child. At the same time, Tom manages to break through the door. He throws the hairstyle away, knocking the electricity outlet and causing a short circuit. While the cameras all die down, he grips Eve's chin and starts threatening her. He admits that he is not the real Tom. He swears he will kill Eve if she tries to kill their child again. The next morning, Eve acts normally under Tom's threats. When they meet the director for regular analysis, they answer all questions positively. At night, Tom personally prepares dinner for Eve. Eve notices that all sharp appliances have been kept away by Tom. When they are dancing, Eve begs him to let the real Tom go, and she will willingly start a family with him. Tom rejects her advance, so Eve stabs his torso with the fork she has been keeping under her clothes. She escapes from the house, discovering a way out to the laboratory of the research center. She explores the corridor and goes into a room. She sees a few women lying unconsciously. The information from their brains is displayed on a big screen. It turns out that they are all clones and the progress of their memory mapping is on the screen. The screen also displays Tom's memories mapping that was 100% done. Eve is dumbstruck by the fact that the fake Tom she has been spending time with is a clone of the real Tom. The director comes in with a few armed security guards. He is proud of the experiment of mapping one's memories to a clone. Over the years, they have been through trials, and to this day, memory mapping is near perfection. When he commands the guard to take Eve down, Eve grabs one of the clones and threatens them to back off and put the weapons down. It turns out that the woman is the clone of the director's wife. So, the director starts this experiment to make a perfect clone of his wife. The director obeys Eve and backs off. Upon knowing the clone's identity, Eve proposes to let the clone go if they bring the real Tom to her. They proceed to take Tom, and the moment she gets Tom back, Eve pushes the clone to the director. She grabs a gun nearby and shoots everyone to death. Supporting a wounded Tom, they walk out of the room. In the corridor, another Tom approaches them, claiming he is the real one. Eve is confused, not knowing which of them is the real Tom since both of them are wounded on the same part. She kisses the Tom she walks out with, but that doesn't help her in recognizing. The Toms start to convince her that each of them is the real one. Helplessly confused, Eve slowly aims at her pregnant stomach with the gun she is holding. When she pretends like she is going to fire, the Tom she walks out with shouts "Don't," and the Tom that appears later encourages her to do it. Changing the direction of the gun, she shoots the Tom that tries to stop her. At the same time, Eve still loses her child due to being overexhausted. After the incident, they get married to each other. When they are conveying their love, Eve notices something placed on the bedside drawer. She recognizes it as the contraceptives the fake Tom always gave her before. Realization struck Eve that the Tom in front of her is the clone. Eve stares at him shockingly, and they both know what kind of revelation floats out of the surface. Noticing Eve's struggles to escape from his grips, Tom becomes aggressive. As a result, he strangles Eve to death and fakes the murder as a suicide. Hit the like button if you like the story, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching, see you next time.